Hey guys, my name is Manny. I run Epic Inspections. You can call me CEO, Managing Director, Overlord, whatever you may want to call me. And today's show is going to be about me telling everyone about how I went from IT to running a couple of businesses. And I want to tell you that you can do it too. All you got to do is just do it.
Now, welcome everyone to another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we have a truly inspiring guest with us. And from now on, you're going to be knowing him as your overload. Now, Manny, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. I can't wait to learn a little bit more about yourself and everything else that happens, your side of the table there. Now, for those that are meeting your overload for the very first time, well, he's a seasoned entrepreneur who turns failures into success, something that a lot of us are not able to do. He's also a former IT engineer who's navigated a colossal shift in his career and now manages 23 employees. Now let's deep dive into the story of Manny and what he does behind Epic Inspections and also Madari appliances. Now, Manny, I could go on and on and on and talk about all your accolades and everything else that comes along with it, but it defeats the whole purpose. First of all, tell us how you actually got the name Your Overload.
Yeah, we used to play the city game a long time ago when Zoom was still in its infancy, and the name just kind of stuck. And it's a nice icebreaker when I talk to new people, and it just gets that conversation going.
Absolutely. Well, I can't rub that thought off of my head now because that's the name that we're going to be using moving forward. Now, Your Overload, how did you get into business?
Always wanted to get into real estate and e-commerce. Now, we'll talk about real estate first. Now, my mom used to always say, still says it, that real estate is not for us. She used to say that you got to get into an IT job, a regular thing, and I kind of listened to what she said, and I never got into real estate. But then, my state that I'm in, Victoria, I came up with this rental regulations stuff, I should say, compliance stuff, and that was my cue to get into real estate. And this was July 2020 or so, and I'm writing.
Absolutely. I quite like that. And you tell how parents usually influence people, to do certain jobs or certain careers and things of that nature. And half of the time, people don't end up sort of liking those type of jobs. Now, were you enjoying your IT career and everything else that came along with that?
Yeah, mostly. I honestly, I was in IT because of the money. Now, IT pays really well. It pays better than like a surgeon would, provided you keep yourself up to date and you give the market what it wants. As long as you keep yourself at a cutting edge sort of level, and keep, I used to do IT contracting. So if you do IT contracting, stay at the top of the market, stay networked up, IT pays like nothing else. But again, I always wanted to be in real estate, always wanted to be in business, and when this compliance stuff came along, that was me. That was my cue to jump right in.
Absolutely, because this is an opportunity that presented itself and you grabbed it with both hands. So many people, wouldn't notice an opportunity even if it, slaps them on the face. Was it difficult for you to then transition from this IT setup to, having to learn all about property and inspections?
Now, I was surrounded by a lot of real estate people all the time. A lot of my friends are in real estate. I've been a bit of an investor, developer kind of person as well for about a decade. So I knew what I was getting into. So, but it was a colossal shift to go from IT to real estate. Those are kind of people I used to deal with in real estate, in IT, were completely different. I was used to delivering, executive summaries in front of C-level people versus selling something to a property manager, for example. It was a completely different sort of mindset. But again, I was willing to get into it, and as long as the willingness is there, as the chance is there, if you dive right in, sky's the limit.
I quite like that because so many people would yeah, would only want to do things that they're, proficient in. And I think with that in and of itself, you won't even move any further if you don't try a few things. But it all didn't, start off as a success. You've experienced a bit of failure, in your life and on your journey. Could you just walk us through that and how you sort of turned it all?
Absolutely. We find that I personally find that a lot of people talk about successes and not failures. And I know successes, get a lot more views, get a lot more clicks than failures. And I think it's important to talk about failures more than successes, because failures teach you more. Failure is a better teacher than. So when Epic Inspections did start to get some traction, I had two businesses before this, and they both flopped. I had the ideas were decent, but the execution was very poor. And I learned off of those two failures, and then I turned those failures into this success at Epic Inspections. And then I had some, as you said, Prosper, lots of failures along the way, lots of mini failures along the way at Epic Inspections. And then when I started Madari Appliances at the beginning of this year, I took all that learning from the past 3, 4, 5 years, brought it all together, and now I know why I failed in those first two, and then why I made those mistakes at Epic, and now I'm not trying not to repeat those in my fourth business. So once again, failure is the best teacher, not success.
Absolutely. Yes. And so, yes, you're right about that. So many people would queue just to hear a successful person talk. But, half of the time when those people talk, they don't share, where they went down and what they normally did to alleviate that. But you've had an extensive sort of IT background. Now, how did this sort of shape your approach to entrepreneurship, and especially starting from an engineer's role and moving up to senior architect, because you did that for 15 years, right?
So how that shaped is it gave me that sort of that technical bent of mine, in the sense that whatever I have done at Epic and am doing at Madari Appliances, it's all highly automated. So that IT experience told me that automation is the way to go, and how to find the right software, how to find the right sort of integration tools, how to talk to pre-sales people at selling software from my Madari Appliances business or the Epic Inspections business. So everything kind of came together. And I think it was Steve Jobs that said it, that the dots always connect when you look backwards. Right now that I look at that IT experience, and all my failures within IT, and I know that all the dots connected, and they brought me up to where I am today.
Absolutely. And it's all the learning that you're doing, because you did mention that in order for you to stay relevant within this IT space, you had to constantly stay on the cutting edge. Now, maybe you could let us know, how important that aspect alone is, because so many people just go to high school or college or university and then get whatever degree, and then that's it for them, and all they now count is the years of experience that they have, instead of actual learning that is needed for them to stay current.
I think I might go on a little bit of a tangent here, but what I will say is that you shouldn't let your degree or your past dictate your future. Now, and this is not a brag about it or anything at all, I'm not a kind of guy anyway. I've got a couple of masters in engineering degrees, in addition to my bachelor's. Now, those degrees were all in either telecom engineering or satellite engineering or all that kind of funky jazz. And look where I'm now. I'm selling appliances online, and I'm doing all this compliance stuff. It's completely different. But the idea is that you got to do what excites you. So e-commerce excites me. Online shopping excites me. Making people happy excites me. When I deliver a new appliance to a customer, I know it makes them happy. The other day, I delivered a $4,000 Jura copy machine to someone in Thomastown in Melbourne, and that person was, when they received that appliance, from me directly, it made them happy. I could see the smile on the face. So that was never there when I was in IT. Making a person happy wasn't there, and all of that stuff. Kind of making people happy. Putting people into the houses. Getting people better rentals. All that kind of stuff makes me really happy, and makes me kind of happy and satisfied where I am now.
Fantastic. I mean, obviously, we do this for the smiles, and we do this for the customers, so they get to know, like, and trusters, because people want to do business with those they know, like, and trust. And congratulations on you putting smiles on people's faces. So many people are failing to do just that simple aspect when it comes to business, because they don't actually, think of the customer's needs except for their own profit. And you're not only just doing that with the customers, you're doing that with your teams, because you're managing about 23 employees. Now, tell us, what's your secret to building such a strong team? And obviously, we all know that managing people is no small feat. So, yeah, tell us your principles and strategies, how you ensure that you're actually having a productive work environment.
I think you made a very good point about people, right? So I believe that in order to have a larger team, you need to have strong leaders. So I've built a strong leadership team, and now that leadership team leads their team. So that's really helped. That's one thing. And the second is obviously the growth has been there. So that has helped those people get to where they want to get to. And second is that I've created a culture in which it's all about learning. It's all about growth. It's all about delivering value, delivering more value than they're paid for. This is one thing that I say to all my people all the time, that you got to deliver more value than you paid for, and eventually you'll be paid much more. A lot of people used to ask me initially, how do I get paid more? If you don't deliver enough value, you will not be paid more. This is what I tell everyone, even my trades, my admin staff, my leadership team. Everyone's like, how do I get paid more? At the end of the day, people work for money. How do I get paid more? This is how you get paid. Do you deliver more than you paid for? You deliver more than is expected of you. If I say, hey, deliver A, B, and C, and you go out of your way, you deliver A, B, C, D, all the way to say G, H, whatever, it gets picked up. Now, I operate 100% remote companies, and that's what I will always do where possible. Again, even though we work remote, everything is noticed. No one micromanages everyone at all. That's not how we roll, but things are noticed. So if you deliver more than your manager expects of you, you're to win. So that's my secret sauce there. Have a great culture, supportive, flexible, family first, you first, safety first, all those kind of good words first. And everyone delivers what's expected of them, and more than that, actually.
Absolutely. I quite like that, because they have some sort of sense of ownership, because what they're creating and what they're working towards is in their best interest to make sure that they're delivering. And as you say, you get paid in direct proportion to the value that you bring to the marketplace. I mean, if you are producing maybe $1 an hour and you're expecting to be paid $10, it doesn't sort of work like that. But if you're bringing in maybe 10 times the value that you expect to be paid, then obviously, your overloads would look at you favorably, and the compensation will be relevant to that. Now, Manny, a lot of our viewers are always keen to learn new things, and when we bring in experts on the show, we end up walking away with strategies and ways that they have employed to run their business and to become successful. Now, maybe can you share a couple of unique strategies that you've employed to, first of all, grow Epic Inspections and Madari appliances, and perhaps something that other small to medium businesses can also adopt?
So there's two things. One is you probably have heard of it everywhere, but it's hard to do, and I'll tell you what it is. And the second one is around not caring about the actual sale. So the first one is detaching from the outcome, and second is not caring about the actual sale. So when I first started my business, I'm impatient by nature. I'm a Scorpio. I was born in November. Scorpios apparently are very impatient, and so am I. So in the initial days, I was like, I want to sell, and I want nothing else. I would listen. I would tell the prospects about me, and not listen to what I was solving for them. So that's how I used to roll before. I was like all about a sale. I wouldn't detach from the outcome. If I didn't get a sale, I would get disappointed, and the rejection was debilitating. They still are, honestly. But what I've changed is that I don't care about the sale anymore. Right? I try and see if there's a problem I can solve. And if there's no problem to solve, then the customer's not going to switch. Right? People switch for a pain point. Right? And if the pain's not there, they're not going to switch. If nothing's broke, they're not going to fix it, right? So, and if you're running your own business, I find that it's hard to say, always detach from the other, because you want to sell. Admittedly, everyone's human, everyone wants to sell. But
Right.
I think it is very important to just assume that the sale is never going to happen. So when I walk into a prospect, even if I cold door knock or whatever it might be, I go in with assuming that there's going to be nothing. I'll find out if there's a problem I can solve, if there's a pain that the customer is experiencing. And it's most times people are not going to say this anyway, because no one wants to admit that they're not doing things optimally. No one's going to say that. So it's my job there to uncover if there's anything that they might not be doing optimally, and if there's a space that I can squeeze my foot into, and then maybe solve the problem that they might not be aware of that they have. So there's this amazing guy called Josh Braun, and he says this thing that if there's no pain, no one's going to switch. So that's what I try and uncover. So to summarize this, detach from the outcome and don't care about the actual sale, and see if there's a problem that you can solve. But if there's not, just walk away. There's plenty of other fishes in the pond that you can fish out of.
I quite like that, because so many people really fixate on the transaction and they're not actually looking at the future that the customer wants. They just looking at the features of what they're selling, and that sort of makes it difficult for them to then have that transaction, because people like buying stuff, but they don't like being sold to, so many people, yes, I see, buy my stuff, but they're not, like you say, bringing value to the table. They're not looking at the pain point. They're not actually creating solutions that people actually want. They just have a pen or whatever, thing that they just want to sell. And eventually that just puts people off. Now, if people want to maybe learn a little bit more from you and maybe get connected with you, what would be the best way that they can connect with the Overload?
The best way would be via LinkedIn. So my handle is /Manny Sidhu 100, I think it is. But in any case, you can look me up on LinkedIn, and I'll be probably the only guy with the mole. So or at least with a fancy mole.
Absolutely. I will definitely direct people in the show notes there to the links there. Otherwise, they'll go on LinkedIn looking up for the Overload, and they might not connect with you there. Now, I quite like, who you've become and what you've created for yourself, and everything else out there. Now, is there any sort of advice you can give to other IT people that might be thinking, of maybe getting started either on their own or expanding, based on the skill set that they have? Because from what I see you have done, most of the skills are transferable in different sectors, and you're proof positive that it's possible.
Yeah, I think this is probably everyone says this, but I'm living proof of it, that just go for it. Really go for it. If you've got an idea, go for it. Worst that'll happen, it'll fail. That's fine. It's completely all right. So the failure, again, is going to teach you way more than any success would. Just go for it. Another thing I would like to say that is, go for what you would wake up for. Now, I like a few things, and I'll tell you what they are. This is personal. So I like coffee, right? I like whiskey, single malt specifically. I like real estate, right? So these 3-4 things I really like, and I like talking to people in real estate. So these are my 4 or 5 niches. I love being in e-commerce, right? I love being able to sell something to people and bringing a smile to someone's face. So if there's anything that excites you, whatever it might be, it might be plastering, it might be tiling, whatever it is, just carve out some time in your day, carve out some time in your week, for example, after hours or whatever, after your regular IT job, and then go do this stuff and see if it excites you. And sometimes you might find that you don't want to do this for a career. So just go for it. And once again, the worst that'll happen, it'll fail. And start off small. Bite off only as much as you can chew, so that you can keep that balance of family and social, whatever else it is. But again, just go for it. The worst that'll happen, it'll fail, and you can go back to your IT job. That's always there.
Absolutely. I quite like that. And you actually brought up a subject that is of interest to me. and it's of the single malt variety. Okay, so thank you so much. What's in your shelf currently that you've got sipping?
I was actually emptying my closet the other day, and I've got this Fuji Gotemba single malt, and this was delivered to me by the Whiskey Club. I'm
Ah,
a club member, and yeah, this is an amazing drop.
absolutely. I'm a member too. Sometimes I pick and choose depending, on what's on offer with the club. And I think they've done so well curating the best whiskeys in the world and then just delivering them to your doorstep. And yeah, we could talk about that a lot more. But I've got this thing that a lot of people don't quite get, but I think you will understand. You see, when you sit down and you're sipping a single malt, be it a 12 or 15 or something of that variety, and you just enjoying it and maybe getting the taste notes and things of that nature, I usually start asking myself, where was I 12 years ago? Where was I 15 years ago? And then if I can place myself back to that time, I start looking at, have I improved? Have I become better? Who have I become? Right? And while I'm there, I'm now projecting, what am I going to be doing in the next 15 years? Who am I going to be in the next 12 years? And before you know it, my Glencairn glass is done, and I'm going to have to fill up again. But there's also the one thing that really interests me about the Scotch. It's not called a Scotch until it stayed 3 years in Scotland, and half of the time the business aspect to it is what really, really fascinates me. Do you know what the business side of it is?
No, tell me.
Okay. You need to have the Scotch staying in a bun. You just put water, whatever the ingredients are, for 12 years, 15 years, 30 years. Just seal it out there. How many
Perfect. Yeah.
people today are willing to create or do something that they will enjoy or benefit from 15 years from
Brilliant point.
now? So
Brilliant point.
absolutely, right? So many people are not able to plant a seed today and enjoy 30 or 20 years to come.
Yeah.
As a whiskey,
Lots of people.
as a whiskey.
Yeah, lots of people. Yeah, lots of people want to enjoy things right away. So there's that instant gratification thing that people are used to, using their phone, swiping away their time essentially. So lots of people are not willing to put in the effort in order to reap those millions of dollars later. So great point. Just beautiful analogy.
Absolutely. You see, now we just froze this 20, 30 minutes, and people in the future are going to be watching, listening, and learning from this because, you dropped in a lot of value points and they're going to be relevant for a long time to come. Now, in the interest of future pacing ourselves, I mean, you've been in IT, you've been in real estate. Now I'm going to invite you to my place for a whiskey. What's next for the Overload?
Oh, as in today, I'm going to go off to do some more sales. And the rest of the year, we are creating some more services, delivering some more value, packaging up certain things. Again, trying to ease some pain points for landlords, for property managers, for agencies, trying to do all the good stuff.
Well, let's go a little bit more in the future. We're drinking a 10-year-old now.
Yeah, no, in a few years' time, it'll be 12 years old, 16 years old, and it's going to get better and better.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Manny, for the time that we spent on the call today. I mean, at the end of the day, your life story and your experience and what you've done to reinvent yourself is just a masterclass in and of itself. So I really appreciate you spending time with me on the call today.
Right.
Absolutely. And there you have it, folks. A journey of resilience, innovation, and I don't know how many bottles of whiskey in the process, but as you have heard from the overlord himself, Manny Sidhu, how he turned himself, from IT to now Epic Inspections and Madari Appliances. Now, Manny, like I said, it's been a pleasure, but I was also supposed to ask, what does Madari mean?
Right question. So literally that word means juggler. or a magician.
Uh,
And this is an old sort of profession in northern India and beyond into Iran and all those other places. So there used to be these traveling magicians that used to go around, wowing people with their tricks and all that, and magic and all that kind of stuff. So, and over time, this sort of profession has died out, obviously because of the advent of time. But essentially, Madari means that this is a company that juggles multiple things, does things really well, wows their audiences, wows their customers, and that's how the name came about.
Fantastic. Well, that was magical, just hearing your story and everything else that came along, from your IT days to now, going through to, being the overload and, doing magical things on the internet there. And to our viewers, like I said, we will be putting all the links in the show notes below. Be sure to connect with Manny so you can learn about his journey and everything else that comes along with it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show. Until next time, stay prosperous. Bye for now.